What makes a great rental market? That's today's show. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris, founder of Morris Invest, longtime real estate investor, and today we're going to talk about the best places to find real estate. What makes a great rental market? It's a question we get all too often here in the office, and people want to know, where should they put their money? Is California a great place? What are some of the metrics and things that go into deciding whether or not I should invest? So let's dive into it today. We're going to talk about what makes a great rental market. There are a number of key indicators that I look at. Now, you could add additional items to this list if you like. These are the things that I care about the most when I'm looking at a rental market. And so the areas where I invest across the country have a lot of these similarities. So let's start off with number one, landlord friendly. Now, what exactly is landlord friendly? What does that mean? And I've done a whole video series on what does it mean to be landlord friendly, so you can dive in and check that out here in the YouTube card and dive further into that information about landlord friendly cities, specifically why certain ones stand out more than the others. But what it means to be landlord friendly is simply it's easy to be a landlord there, that you don't have to go up against a lot of bureaucratic hoops and hurdles when you're investing in that town or those cities in those states. So landlord friendly means ease of eviction, right? It's the scary E word that so many people get scared about, eviction. Well, guess what? If you own 50 rental properties, get over it. It's going to happen. You are going to have an eviction at some point. It's going to happen no matter if you're an A class, B class, C class, D class, it doesn't matter. You will have an eviction. Okay? My wife has talked about openly here on the show. She had an A-class rental property in San Francisco, and the people trashed it. Right? They absolutely trashed it. Dogs peeing on everything. It was just a mess. Put huge holes in the wall. There should have been an eviction. They had all sorts of violations these people had inside the building. They were constantly causing problems for other tenants in the building. And it was a high-rise apartment complex in downtown San Francisco in the financial district. So you will have an eviction. It doesn't matter where you own rental properties. How quickly can you get an eviction? Is it a state where you have a lot of hoops and hurdles to jump through? Or can you kind of move pretty quickly to get an eviction? So those are the areas that I look for, landlord friendly. We talk about those in some other videos, but Texas, Indiana, Michigan, so that evictions can happen quickly, that the judge can side with you quickly to get the person thrown out of the property, and their stuff is out, right? If they're not paying and they're causing problems, how quickly can you turn that around? Now, other states are not so landlord friendly. California, New York, where it can take a long time to get a tenant out of a property, and you have to hire lawyers in order to do it. So again, landlord friendly. Those are some things I look for initially. That kind of sets the base level. That's just like a base point of view for me to make sure that my rental properties are landlord friendly. Number two, let's talk about the job market, okay? This is incredibly important. So when we look at the places I invest, I don't need to be in New York City. I don't need to be in San Francisco, California, those types of places. I want to be in areas that service America, meaning the jobs that are there are servicing Americans, and these jobs are not going to China. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean hospitals, right? Hospitals aren't going to go to China. So we rent to, a lot of nurses, hospital staff, things like that, near the hospitals that are located by some of our properties. American-based industry that's providing infrastructure for this country. FedEx, right? FedEx distribution hubs, long-haul trucking companies that require people to distribute goods and services across the country. So those types of things that aren't going out of the country. So those American-based jobs, we rent, frankly, in one of our Michigan markets, actually Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. There is, large Amazon distribution center right there. That's a huge warehouse with hundreds and hundreds of employees, thousands of employees. And the Amazon distribution center, guess what? They send buses to pick up the tenants from a certain parking lot spot, take them to and from work. So they don't even have to have a car. They don't have to get in public transportation. This is a smart move by Silicon Valley. We saw this out in California and San Francisco, where Google employees and Apple employees and others We'll get in those Apple buses, Google buses, and they'll be bussed from downtown San Francisco out to Cupertino or Mountain View, where Google is located. So again, these infrastructure jobs that, because we buy so much stuff from Amazon, right? We want our goods and services to come from that company. And so the people need to put stuff in boxes, stuff needs to be delivered, trucks need to be moving, milk needs to be delivered. Those are the types of jobs that I look for. And I also look to see, are more companies coming to a particular area? And so we just saw a huge announcement from one of the big car manufacturers in Michigan. Going to bring $1 billion and a new plant back to the Detroit area again. Guess what? American-based jobs, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Goods and services that service the rest of the country. And where those jobs are located, right in the heartland, typically, for where I like to invest. Number 3 on my list is affordability. So there's a couple of things that go into affordability, right? Taxes. So the property tax is fairly low in that area. One of the reasons I'm not a huge fan, I haven't really invested in Texas, because property taxes are higher. But a lot of the other things on this list make Texas very favorable, right? Landlord friendly, American-based jobs, a lot of those. But property tax is a little bit higher, so I don't really invest there, and maybe I would. But property taxes in other areas, in New York and California and certain spots, make it unattractive in a lot of ways. Now, for instance, I bought some properties recently in New Jersey, my backyard, which was odd for me. It's actually not my backyard. It's about 4 hours away from me, or 3 hours away from me, because it's in a county and an area where the property taxes are really low. So not where I live. Where I live, the property taxes are through the roof, and I would never invest in that area. So affordability, purchasing the properties. Last night I had someone sent me a deal in the state of New Jersey. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Now, the property, right? If you watch my channel for any length of time, the properties that I renovate and that our clients buy, right? They're in the 40s, 50s, $60,000 range, right? $70,000 range if we're in some of the B-class stuff, right? That's roughly the price. Someone sent me a deal in New Jersey last night, and I was going through my email. It was $240,000, and it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. That is not a deal to me. Because guess what? It's not going to rent for very much more than what my properties in these other areas, the more affordable markets, will rent for. So again, you have to weigh the cost of acquiring properties, the property taxes. How much does it cost to be a landlord? Do you have to pay for a landlord license? Are there other bells and whistles that you have to pay for? And when these things start piling up, then it starts to cut into your return on investment. So again, that's why I like some of the markets that I'm located in Indianapolis, in Michigan, and parts of Ohio and Florida. So again, affordability. How can I get into and purchase that property at an affordable price? Number 4 on my list is boring appreciation. I want my rental markets to be boring. Well, you might be scratching your head. Why boring? Because I don't want drama. I don't want crazy San Francisco drama where you have thousands of people driving up all kinds of crazy prices in downtown San Francisco. No. And appreciation going through the roof in California, so that one year I buy a property for $600,000 and next year I could sell it for $800,000. That is not my cup of tea. No. And so we do not invest for appreciation. I like to think of appreciation is dead as an investment vehicle. And I like to think of appreciation as nice icing on the cake for my rental properties. What do I like? 1 to 2% appreciation, maybe 3% appreciation in a lot of my markets. Again, very boring, but enough that over a few years, I'm able to pull out maybe an additional amount of equity and also increase the rents a little bit year over year, or every few years, maybe raising them $25, $50. But again, I want it boring. I don't want it exciting. I want it boring. So again, appreciation. Don't go after appreciation. Look for boring appreciation. And I'm not flat, but just a little trickle to make it interesting for you. And number 5, I love this as a metric. This is kind of a screwball metric, but the idea of stuff being shipped to other people. Now, what do I mean for number 5? Stuff being shipped to other people. Well, we love to buy stuff from Amazon, right? We like to go to Barnes and Noble and see books on the shelves. We like to order Zappos, right? We like to order shoes from Zappos. Guess what? There are cities across this country where it's affordable for Barnes and Noble to place a warehouse, Amazon to place Amazon distribution centers, Zappos to place distribution centers, all sorts of companies that will deliver those goods, that packaged stuff, to us in New York City and New Jersey and Florida and California and Alaska and all over the world, right? So those markets have wide open space, places to have buildings built, or they have to employ thousands of people who, guess what? They're going to rent from me because they're going to need some place to live. So look for the areas where you're seeing all of this infrastructure coming. And then again, you drive, down towards the Indianapolis airport, you're going to see, first of all, one of the #1 airports in the country for ease of, it's voted every year. They have the big banners hanging right in there, voted one of the #1 airports in the country. All nearby it, huge FedEx distribution centers, Amazon distribution centers, warehouses delivering goods and services all over the country. The same thing in Michigan, the same thing in parts of Ohio where I like to invest. So there you go. There's some key areas where if you can get people boxing stuff up and shipping it to the rest of us, that's a good place to invest. I love those things. So those are my 5 key areas and what makes a great rental market. Now you can add, like I said, a bunch of other things to this list if you like. These are my 5 that I really want to look at before I'm investing. And then I kind of dive into some deeper details later. But this is where, if I look at the metrics of where I currently invest, all of these five are absolutely true. And I want to see if other businesses are continuing to move to these areas. Because, you've got other big businesses that are continuing to move to certain areas. They've got a lot of people on their staff that are looking at data and figuring out how they can hire good talent, how they can get employees there, how they can keep taxes low. Does it make sense for them to invest in their own company? So when GM decides to build a new huge plant for $1 billion, Amazon decides to build a new distribution center, Salesforce builds and takes over an entire skyscraper in downtown Indianapolis as one of their second headquarters now, you might start to pay attention to those types of areas for investing. Again, that's where we do our most deals. If you're interested in learning more and you want to pick up a property in one of those markets, you can just go to our website. We have a link right below. It's morrisinvest.com. That's what we do all day long. We make it easy for people to pick up rental properties. So I'd love to hear your feedback. Are these areas that you like to invest? Let us know in the comment thread below. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel here. We've got content that we're providing on a regular basis to help you become a real estate investor. Now go out there, take action. That's all I care about, just taking action, because it's not going to happen on its own. And become a real estate investor. It's the #1 way to build wealth in this country. We'll see you next time, everyone.